On this episode, the realest of all real Americans, Hulk Hogan, died very recently. I don't think that's a shock to anybody that's...
He drew national media coverage literally last year during the election, right?
Bubba betrayed Hogan quite a bit, and actually...
When you look at his age and everything you alluded to, no, it's not shocking, but it's still shocking when it's sudden.
Where the conspiracy angle of this comes in, and there's been a lot of talk now that there was a medical malpractice.
Raise your glass to mysteries, cocktails and conspiracies. Dive into these histories, cocktails and conspiracies. Raise your glass to mysteries, cocktails and conspiracies. Uncover those anomalies, cocktails and conspiracies.
Tired of dragging around that clunky old grill to every tailgate or campsite? Hitchfire has your back. Literally. Their rugged hitch-mounted grills are built for adventure. Just swing it out, fire it up, and get cooking anywhere your vehicle takes you. And I've got a code to hook you up. Use SFXDOTCOM at checkout to save 10% off your entire order. Head to hitchfire.com and upgrade your outdoor game. Hitchfire, built to burn wherever you roam. It's rare we start these episodes off without a well thought out script. Something that I've analyzed and overanalyzed and try my best to memorize the whole way through. But tonight, we talk a topic near and dear to our hearts. When it comes crashing down and it hurts inside. Tonight, we talk about the conspiracy theory surrounding the death of icon, superstar, and hero, Hulk Hogan. Hogan was more than just a celebrity. Hogan was more than just a guy you saw on TV. He was more than just the person you grew up looking up to. Hogan was larger than life. Hulkamania for life. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Cocktails and Conspiracies. My name is Shane Skwarek here. I can't even say my own last name tonight. That's how disheveled I am from this, Mr. Phillips. I'm here with my co-host, a guy that couldn't give two flying F's about pro wrestling, but he's here to do this show with us because there's a conspiracy theory involved. Welcome to Cocktails and Conspiracy.
Not true.
I'm a broken man.
The current state, no.
I'm a broken man, Mr. Phillips. I am a broken man.
It is a somber event, a somber recording. We'll try to put a little pep in our step for everybody. Or make it as fun as we can.
The realest of all real Americans, Hulk Hogan, died very recently. I don't think that's a shock to anybody that's hit the news. When a guy, Mr. Phillips, of that age, Hogan was in his 70s, on the road actively. I think a chronological, wrong word. I think a well-documented history of, steroid abuse, or maybe abuse is the wrong word, but steroid use throughout his career. Pro wrestler where many, many, many of his peers before him have all kicked the bucket. It's not that shocking, to say the least, when you see somebody from that 70s and 80s era of pro wrestling die kind of suddenly. Most notably, actually, the Ultimate Warrior back several years ago had probably a 15-year stretch where everybody in pro wrestling hated him, and he hated them back. And somehow, some way, he reconnected with Vince McMahon because anything can happen in pro wrestling. They made amends. He came back to the WWE. He got inducted to the Hall of Fame. The very next night on Monday Night Raw, he comes out. He gives this big speech about the legacy of the Ultimate Warrior and how he's going to live through our minds forever. Goes back to his hotel and drops dead that night. That night! 2 days after his Hall of Fame induction, and the night of Monday Night Raw after this wild speech. It's completely wild. So I use that as like the shock value in pro wrestling. Is there's nothing really more shocking than something like that. Kind of a full circle moment. So when I hear the news that Hulk Hogan passes, am I surprised? Of course. Am I shocked? Probably not, right?
How old was he? 71.
I want to say he was 71 or 73.
Yeah.
Hogan's age at death. I'm just going to look that up really quickly. I think the more surprising aspect was that like the guy has just been going ham. August 11th was would have been his 72nd birthday, so he was 71 at the time of his death.
Yeah, and look, he drew national media coverage literally last year during the election, right? I mean, he was a big supporter of the president.
DJT. Yep.
And so, yeah, I mean, he was certainly on the minds and hearts of many, and it's certainly, I mean, when you look at his age and everything you alluded to, no, it's not shocking, but it's still shocking when it's sudden, right? It's not like he was sick and you knew he was sick. Right. At least not to the best of my knowledge. You are, I mean, clued into that space. I'm not in the slightest bit.
It's one of those things where, like, again, you're a guy in his 70s that probably put your body through abuse for a really long time. There were certainly ailments that were going on. There were moments, and Jimmy Hart actually accents this really well. He's like, when he'd come out to some of the WWE shows, he'd always have his arm on Jimmy Hart. And, you know, it's not unusual for him to kind of like pipe up Jimmy Hart a little bit, but it's actually because he was having some trouble walking. And so he'd grab on him so he can kind of stand there for a little bit and do his spiel and run through it. But he was using a cane a lot. He was getting older. So,
yeah.
Did he have ailments?
Rough life.
Right. Like, yeah, I mean, the guy, again, looked better at 71 than most of us have at any point in our lives. But something that would have been like that catastrophic certainly didn't seem like it's in the cards. But again, not that crazy, I guess. You mentioned a little bit about him being at the RNC, Republican National Convention. He just launched a new beer brand, Real American Beer. He's been doing tours with that all around the country. He just actually, what people don't realize is it was in the process of launching Real American Freestyle, which is an amateur wrestling professional promotion, I guess, if you will. So I don't know what you'd call those amateur wrestlers at that point. They would become professional wrestlers, so to
Is
speak.
that like indie wrestling?
No, like college freestyle wrestling, like Olympic wrestling.
Oh, gotcha. I thought you meant, all right, yes.
No, so he partnered with the guy that worked with him in Real American Beer. He partnered with Eric Bischoff and then some other people that have had some experience in, like, you know, like fighting type sports, like UFC aligned type sports. And they were saying, you know, you've got like an extension from college for every other sport, for football, for basketball, for baseball. There's an extension for wrestlers, which, you know, kids start at a really young age. It's one of the youngest ages you can start at for any. It's aligned to your baseballs, your footballs, your hockeys, whatever.
Right.
You start at a really young age. You put all this in here, right? And then you get to college, and then if you can get into college, it's great. If you get into college, when you're done, it stops. There's nothing for you.
Right. You might have the Olympics. That's it.
The best of the best go to the Olympics. But even that, we saw that with Gable Steveson. He went to the Olympics. I'm sorry. Did he go to the Olympics? I can't remember now. I think he did. But I mean, this guy was an all-American athlete. He was just absolutely dominant in college. And then he's tried pro wrestling like WWE. He's tried the NFL. He's now trying, I think, UFC. I think he tried something else in there mixed in. I mean, the guy's just getting destroyed in everything he goes into because it's not like a natural fit for him.
Right.
So I think the mindset here was like there was an opportunity to create a new sport akin to boxing or MMA that's freestyle wrestling. And so, I mean, that's launching. And as we record this and as you all see this in, I think, a week, maybe two.
I got to look into that. That sounds interesting.
It sounds really cool.
So
I think there's been a lot of pipe about that.
Is it more aligned with like what I would envision for like college wrestling or like MMA? Like,
exactly what it is.
Kind of an amalgamation of all of it?
I don't know what the actual matches will end up being, but it sounds like it's going to basically be college wrestling, just like Elevate, like Olympic wrestling on television.
Right.
They're calling it Real American Freestyle. I don't know enough about amateur wrestling to really speak on that, but Fox is a partner in it. They're going to be airing it on their networks, so it's going to get a lot of press coverage right out of the gate. So, I mean, this is a guy that even in his 70s was active. He was doing good things. He was moving around the world, and he passes. story over there as far as I'm concerned. Heartbroken, you named it. It kind of shocked the world a little bit there. Now, where the conspiracy angle of this comes in. Have you heard of Bubba the Love Sponge?
Yes, the Howard Stern guy.
At one point, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So Bubba peels off into his own show and has been doing that for many years. Many, many moons ago, Bubba the Love Sponge and Hulk Hogan were best friends. I mean, would have called each other brothers, would have done anything for each other.
To be fair, he'd call anybody brother, but continue.
Wow, touche. Well played. Well played. All right, yeah, you got me on that one. Bubba betrayed Hogan quite a bit and actually probably ruined or left a tarnish on Hogan's career because of this. But Bubba the Love Sponge, if you remember the incident with Gawker, how Hogan was caught on videotape, basically going off about his daughter Brooke's boyfriend at the time, drop some slang words, inebriated, that I think he regret. And actually, I don't have to think he regret because he came out multiple times and apologized for it. Although people seem to forget about that, despite the fact that their heroes say this stuff in every single day. Bubba the Love Sponge is the ones that leaked that. He's the one that recorded it. He's the one that leaked that because he wanted Hogan to bang his wife, and he was trying to make some sex tape for it. And for whatever reason, they were recording him. Hogan was all banged up. He was riling him up. He himself admitted riling him up. And they had whatever falling out. Bubba the Love Sponge leaks this out to Gawker. It obviously blows up. Hogan sues the living hell out of Gawker, shuts that dirt rag down. Gawker's now gone. But Hogan always has this lingering thing over his head that Hogan's a racist, blah, 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 till the day he dies. A lot of people were glad he was dead. Especially now that rehashes. I think for the most part, people kind of let it go. That rehashes after the RNC. People now hate him because he's supporting the now sitting president of the United States because you're only allowed to support one side. You're never allowed to support the other. It's just how, these hypocrites work. But I think that lingered over his head for a really long time. People saying that he was not apologetic and blah, blah, blah. Or I guess your average layman people. Whereas you've had people that were of color come out and say, this guy's never been nothing but nice to me. This guy put his career on the line. This guy went into Vince McMahon's office and said, I'm getting a job. Tony Atlas famously says that. Tony Atlas is, I don't think you know who he is, but he was a big hulking black guy in the 80s. Yeah,
tremendous.
Yes. What a physique this guy had, and he almost never had a job, and it was Hogan that made sure he had one, because Tony's a little, he can be a little ditzy sometimes. You ever watch him, he's freaking hilarious. But guys like that came out, and Hogan went on his tour, he tried to do his apologies. It is what it is. People say some things they don't mean. They say a lot of things they don't mean when they're drinking and they're in the privacy of their own home. And don't mean in that, they don't mean it maliciously, right? So, not to completely sidebar here, but if you're one of those people that kind of hold those types of grudges, I promise you, if you look up any of your heroes, they're all going to have those types of pasts. So get over it and get over yourself. Nobody's perfect. Nonetheless, I don't even know how I got down that tirade there. Oh, Bubba the Love Sponge. That's where we're coming through.
Yes.
Before Hogan dies, Bubba the Love Sponge starts going out and saying that Hogan's dying. Hogan's health is not well. He is rapidly dying. Bubba the Love Sponge says a lot of shit. He makes up a lot of stuff. Again, he's had a long-standing rivalry with Hogan that he has kind of said some nasty shit about him. Whether it was true or not, who knows? But he likes to get clicks, so he starts perpetuating this.
I was just going to ask you if they ever reconciled, but I'm going to guess no.
I think to a small degree, maybe. But I don't think they were friends when Hogan died. I don't think they were anything close to that. I think maybe they put some of it behind, but certainly they weren't what they ever were. And I mean, it's evident by you can listen to Bubba's shows, he would still kind of throw slander at Hogan's name. So he starts talking about his health is really bad. He's in the hospital. He's probably not going to make it, blah, blah, blah. A couple weeks go by and really nothing happens. It's a Bubba the Love Sponge bullshit. Jimmy Hart even comes out. He's like, I was with Hogan last night. He's fine, whatever. Then all of a sudden, Hogan dies. The alarm bells start going off. That was Bubba the Love Sponge actually telling the truth. Did he find something out? Again, I think Bubba the Love Sponge is largely full of shit. He's been saying Hogan's in rough shape for many years. it's not like this was new. And I think a lot of people selectively chose those pieces and said, oh, yeah, Bubba the Love Sponge, as the dirt sheet started trying to report it a little bit, not realizing that he's been saying this stuff for years. It is what it is. Like, and Hogan did have back problems. So like he was going and trying to get some of that fixed. So he was a little more mobile. He was never going to be in a wrestling ring again, but he wanted to do what he's doing, is go on these tours, go stand up on stage, give speeches, give his spiel.
Right, just improve his quality of life.
Right. Like you're an like what I think people don't realize, and you and I have talked about this quite at length, is like when you're a professional athlete, whether you're a wrestler, whether you're a basketball player, a football player, generally from your youth, if you've reached that upper echelon of everything, the top tier, from your youth, all you've known in your whole life is the sport. I mean, you can attest to that with your own kids right now. Like, I don't want to say your son's name on here, but he's been playing baseball since how old?
I mean, in terms of rec, since he's 4, but I
4 years old.
Trained him when he was 2.
So think about that. Like, if he's lucky enough to now make it to Major League Baseball, at that point he'll have spent almost his entire life. I mean, figure what would he be? They're 20 years old when you would get drafted. So you would spend 18 of your 20 years with baseball as a marquee figment of your life. Now, let's say you go and have this career, right? At some point your career ends, and the average career for these professional athletes is 30. We're not talking 40 years old. Like, we're talking 30 for most professional athletes. Pro wrestling is a little bit different. You're now seeing a lot more guys last into their 40s and then cameo even into their 50s. But in Hogan's era, like 30 was still old. His WCW run was not the commonplace, but even let's just say 40, right? They don't know what to do when it's over for most of these folks, especially if you're not the top tier. Hogan's a superstar. He's a celebrity. He's crossed over everything. There's not a person on planet Earth that doesn't know who Hulk Hogan is.
He's the biggest wrestler of all time.
He's one of the biggest people of all time.
Yes,
I would argue.
Agreed.
I think you can take a collection of the top actors in Hollywood over the last 10 years, and Hogan will be more famous than every single one of them combined. And I think that's unequivocal. I mean, if anybody out there, if you're watching, a couple of people are live streaming again here, a couple of people are watching there, you can name any actor in Hollywood right now. I guarantee you Hogan is more famous than them. Famous, like pop culture famous. More people know who they are. I'm not saying he made more money. So when you get these people that have this upper echelon of fame, or even that don't, right? Like that's the whole thing with the older wrestlers from the 80s especially, is like there wasn't an internet to kind of perpetuate your career, and they weren't the Hulk Hogans of the world. When that stops, the fuck do you do? Right. You don't know anything. You know nothing else in the rest of your life. And that's why I think you see a lot of athletes lose their money and things like that. From Hogan's perspective, that's not the case. You know, he wanted to kind of continue to kind of stay in that spotlight, stay relevant, stay active, partially because it gave him something to do, but partially because it's the only thing he ever knew. And so when you hear a lot of the bullshit from like the Bubba the Love Sponge, you know, you kind of roll your eyes on it. Nevertheless, Hogan dies, and it's marred with a little bit of conspiracy, but nothing really comes of it. Until this past week, all of a sudden things started getting really, really, I don't want to say heated, but like elevated in the conspiracy stuff. And there's been a lot of talk now that there was a medical malpractice that might have been taking place during either routine surgery or some sort of a checkup that was direct correlation to his death. Everything's lock and key. Go ahead.
Real quick, what was the official cause of death? Did they release that information?
They basically said he had a heart attack and died. Yeah. Now that's the police examiners are saying that on site, but nothing else has been said about it. Everything's been lock and key. Where it starts to get weird is the body cam footage is not able to be opened right now. They will not release it to the public. Very strange. There has been allegations coming out now because, of course, like you see an ambulance in front of Hogan's house, people flock there. There was videos like that day of somebody recording Hogan's body being taken out in a stretcher. And people are reporting that the police were talking about like he was alive at that point, and I guess they were trying to save him, but like the police were suggesting that like they need to go get his medical records. They need to have an autopsy done because something is wrong here. It's not adding up.
Was that an official police statement?
Well, it's not. Nothing's official yet. No.
Gotcha.
This is over here from what's being said.
Gotcha. Okay.
There's an allegation that a surgical error led to the respiratory failure. And it's now supported by his widow's statement, his ex-wife Sky's statement. Or, I'm sorry, not his ex-wife, his widowed wife Sky's statement, and some OTs that were on the scene that are claiming that these police interactions, that's what they were alluding to. And basically, what was being said is that there was like I'm going to pronounce this wrong, but a phrenic nerve like that was damaged in whatever surgery or operation that he had gone in for right before he had died. And effectively what that did is it actually cut off his oxygen supply and was putting him into this respiratory failure, which maybe just caused his heart to seize up. There is really nothing else on it right now.
Well, that would cause a lot of stress on the heart, especially as a 71-year-old man
tremendously, especially at that age, tremendously.
Right, who, as you alluded to earlier, used a lot of steroids. We know he used drugs. You know, the heart was not in great condition.
Right. Now,
One
again,
but imagine.
I love a good conspiracy. We wouldn't have this podcast without conspiracies. Well, and the cocktails part too, but we could have the podcast with the cocktails alone. Then all of a sudden, well, before I get into this, actually, you know what? Let me say this. All of a sudden, Brooke Hogan, Hogan's daughter, makes a statement on Instagram, and this is what turned my eyes on. Do you know what that relationship is like with Brooke and Hogan and Hulk?
No, I don't.
Completely estranged, haven't talked in like 10 years. They've talked in private. They really haven't seen each other. Hulk never met her kids, which would be his grandkids. Brooke steps out of the scene. I'm probably misquoting this a little bit here, or not sourcing this correctly, but Brooke steps out of the scene probably around the time Hogan starts getting involved with this now wife, Sky. There is no definitive answer on that. Brooke has led a very private life after basically the fallout between they did that Hogan's Knows Best TV show. It ruined their family.
Yep.
Nick had a lot of issues, ended up getting a big car wreck that fucked his life up. Linda Hogan, his wife, and Hulk, they end up splitting up. Linda dates like a kid. Actually, I think one of Nick's friends. So a guy like 30. Yeah, crazy. Obviously, Hulk starts moving on. Like, there's just a lot of craziness going on. So it all just there's pandemonium that happened. I guess Linda is
literally
like, crazy abusive and stuff. So
like
Brooke has a bad
TV
relationship. Oh, dude, literally, like everything just stock for reality TV shows. You ruin the whole people's lives. So at one point, after this all comes to a head, Brooke basically steps out of the spotlight, disappears, goes off the radar, meets a guy, moves. She's living in the South. I guess she was really living in the South. Moves away with him. She has her family. I mean, she's off. She's barely on social media. It's very shut down, very locked down. So there's speculation, or I guess she's kind of alluded to the fact that the reason she had stepped away was not entirely her doing, but that she wasn't thrilled with the people that were surrounding her father and his life at this particular point in time. And that kind of is insinuated to be his now wife, Sky, and perhaps other people that are involved in the circle here. We talked about this very, very briefly on another episode here. Do you remember what I'm referring to?
Not off the top of my head, no.
Tom Cruiseology, as we like to call it, because the other word that starts with science is a banned word that we can't use. Sky is big in this cruiseology. She is a part of it. And as Hogan looks to reinvent himself and pledge himself to Christ, he finds God, as one always does when they start to get older. This is suspected to be part of that life. Well, what did we talk about back in those other podcast episodes about this particular cult, if I do say so?
Yeah, they're off is probably the most blanket term I could use. They're just off.
There's something up with them.
Right. Yep.
There's conspiracies that are constantly tied to them, with deaths, with harassments, with missing persons. There's just a lot of things that kind of are in that aura with that group that aren't right. And there's a prevailing thought that I'm starting to lean into that I don't think you'll ever hear, that might have caused somewhat of a rift between Brooke Hogan and Hulk, because she might have realized that or recognized that and not wanted to see her father as part of that. You extrapolate that out to what I talked to at the top of the episode here is Hogan's been more active than ever. He's at the RNC. He's now associated with a lot of big names. He's launched a new beer brand. He's traveling the country promoting it. He's launching a new pro wrestling, but not American Freestyle Wrestling, Real American Freestyle, RAF. He's launching this new brand, traveling around promoting that. He's a 70-year-old man. He's still doing on and offs for WWE. He's still got his bar. He's still got his beat shop. He opens up another one of his Hogan shops out in Tennessee in Pigeon Forge. For a 70-year-old, it's not a stretch to think that maybe people are pushing him along, because he wasn't doing this beforehand, right? And all of a sudden this all came on. And I'm not poo-pooing that. I love the idea that you're reinventing yourself. Does it seem a little weird, though, that all of a sudden you're banging out like bang, 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 like all of these new companies one after another?
Yeah, it's certainly a lot at one period of time, right? Especially when you didn't do anything. I mean, he did cameos for WWE, right? I mean, during that stretch where he wasn't launching all these new brands, but that was really it for the most part.
Right. And listen, like, this is a guy, like, the perception that this guy's like a multimillionaire is probably yes, he's probably got millions, but like, I think it's under 10 million. Like, I don't think he's got a whole lot of money at this point. He's an 80s wrestler. He didn't make a whole lot of money. He did. Of course, he made a lot during his time, but he also went through a nasty divorce where his ex-wife took a lot of it, almost all of it. There's fees and stuff that go into that. Like, I think what I looked up his house after, I think his house was only worth like 2 or 3 million when he bought it, which for Hulk Hogan to have a $2 million house, I mean, I don't want to like downplay how much $2 million is, but it's like, there's plenty of $2 million houses where we live right now, right? So it's not like it's that outrageous. Now, I think the house is now worth like 6 or 7 or 8, whatever it might be, but nonetheless.
Well, it's not even so much that it's like, oh my God, only 2 million, but you're talking about, as we said earlier, the biggest wrestler and just one of the biggest names the planet's ever seen.
Yeah, personality.
So it's a little bit like, really? That's it? Yeah.
Right. It's off-putting. Now, I'm not suggesting that that's his total net worth either, but just to kind of put it in perspective, what that particular house is worth. But let's even say he's worth 20 million or 30 million. It's still, in the grand scheme of things, not a lot. So, the idea that maybe he's doing this to kind of build up his empire again is certainly respectable. But I think what I was getting from some of the things that Brooke was putting out was largely that people were probably trying to capitalize on his name. And there's a lot of correlation to him getting married and him starting to get exposed to this cruiseology that starts with a science. Take that as you may. I still at this point don't really buy totally into the concept of it being a conspiracy. I love a good conspiracy, but there's nothing here. It's a pro wrestler, took steroids early on, beat the shit out of his body for many, many, many years, had a heart attack. Not that surprising, right? Let me get this.
I'm right there with you. Oh, I gotta blow my
This
screen.
pops
What
up
do we
on
got here?
Instagram. Okay, can you see
Is
that
this
okay?
Brooke?
This is Brooke Hogan, who now posts an Instagram story, which I got to tell you, to get screen caps of this was a nightmare, because the next 2 screens you're going to say, oh, stop misquoting. Sorry, this is the last one. Is this the last one? Yeah, this might be the last of the story. So let me open this one first. Okay, here we go. Here's the first of this series here. Let's try this again. Share my screen. There we go. It's like I'm on a tech call right now. Okay, here we go.
All right.
Now I'm going to read this for our audience, especially that are listening in, and because it's probably really small, I don't expect you to. And then I want to ask your thoughts on this. Brooke Hogan posts 3 Instagram stories like this. Again, they're like 15 seconds, so it was nearly, I couldn't even press, my fat fingers couldn't even press the screenshot button fast enough to get this friggin' thing. It took forever. Like, you could see how much time is left by the time I screenshot it. Brooke writes, fact, I've 100% gotten legit calls from professionals, from police officials to nurses, that were supposedly with my dad on the day of his death, telling me I need to see body cam footage and I need to get a hold of the 911 tapes because they supposedly contain information that could potentially shed enough light to change the narrative everyone's been hearing. Those same professionals feel so passionately about what they witnessed, they have continued to contact me and push me to find specific answers to this very day. They are quite literally putting their careers at risk because they feel so compelled to do the right thing. The short of it all is, it's all up to my dad's wife, and I have zero control. I cannot do anything. My hands are tied, and I have no say in anything regarding my dad, even as his daughter. Those are the rules, as I've been told. The next screen. I do not have any information on if or when he is being cremated, which is an interesting tidbit. Save that.
Mm-hmm.
Could have been right after he died. Could be tomorrow. I do not know. I have been told by my brother there will be an autopsy. I do not know who will be performing the autopsy. Any information I receive from an autopsy, if one happens, whether I believe it or not, I will be keeping private and out of respect for my father. I do not have answers as to if the officials who have contacted me about what they witnessed relayed this information to the medical examiner's office, and if they did, I do not know why it wasn't taken into consideration. All body cam footage and 911 dispatch calls are not available via the Freedom of Information Act. It's on lockdown. I do not know why. Do I question his general physician signing off on his death certificate, given his background, which is available for anyone to see via simple Google search? You can answer that one yourself. Another interesting tidbit, which we will be doing live on this call. I have to trust that my brother is doing his best to get answers. At the end of the day, answers would be great, but none of it brings my dad back, and my hands are tied. And then that is when we get this last one. Please stop misquoting, speculating, and asking me if I know anything. I cannot get any information. I know you'd think I could, being his blood, but I cannot. We are dealing with enough. I will not be talking about this mystery anymore.
Well, that kind of blows the
Interesting.
fucking lid off of things, huh?
Imagine seeing that. Now, going into this, I have no thought that this is a conspiracy,
Right.
and that pops up. Well, how do you come through that? How do you feel about that?
Yeah. Well, listen. When we first started this conversation, when you brought up the fact that the police would not release the body cam footage or any information about the 911 calls, to me, that's a red flag as it is, right? Because that indicates what? That there's an investigation going on, right? Because that's always the official answer, right? We're not going to release body cam footage while there's an official investigation going on, blah, 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 suck my dick, right? That's what they tell you all the time. So, why is there an investigation? If the man had a heart attack, right, and simply died of heart failure, well then, what are we investigating here? So clearly, there has to be more. And then when you couple that with what Brooke just said, I mean, that's pretty compelling, my friend.
It just becomes really weird, right? And there's a lot to unpack there, right? Like I think a lot of people that have, especially those that have never really experienced death, be it especially in your family, but I don't think they realize what the rights are. As a child,
Yeah, I have no clue.
you're right, like if your parent is married, even if it's not like if it's not your mother, whomever they're married,
Your
to,
biological mother, right?
yeah, like that person has more rights than anybody else. This is often why you'll see prenuptial agreements come into play, particularly in cases where people get remarried. This is often why later in life you'll see a lot of like gold diggers come into the picture, right? And they marry old men and try to take all their money, and the kids go crazy about it because once they are legally married, unless that person signs documentation that turns power of attorney or power of estate or whatever their power of medical, there's so many different iterations of it, over to somebody else, it all defaults to their spouse. And so despite the fact that Brooke is the biological daughter and Hogan's wife has no relation to her by blood whatsoever, and has been with her, even if he was with her for a week, it wouldn't matter. She would have the authority to do everything and overrule everybody else. So Brooke is 100% right when she says that stuff. And as much as Hogan's profile and Brooke's profile are widely known, nobody can legally give her that information. I had a little bit, I lost that train of thought there. I wanted to pull that out. Let me just see if I can pull back up here.
What's that, her story?
Yeah. There was something in there that I wanted to pull back out, and I completely forgot what that was. The 9/11 tapes. Oh. Okay. Now I see it. I had a little bit of thought too, and I don't know if you caught this. And I'm going to pull it back up for me right here. And where is that actual line? From police officials, which makes sense, to nurses that were supposedly with my dad on the day of his death. That strike you as odd?
Well, why were there nurses there? I mean, to the best of my knowledge, we weren't talking about somebody that was actively dying, so why were there nurses there?
That struck me as odd as well.
Right.
And doing a little extra research on that, as I heard about that initially when I read this, there apparently were nurses there. And the nurses were the ones that actually called the ambulance because he was dying. He was sent home, and there was something wrong, and they had people there checking up on him. And I guess when they brought him into the hospital, or maybe when he was in the ambulance or something, maybe they were with him. It's unclear because the information is so shrouded. But there were nurses involved. So it lends credence back to the idea that there was potentially a medical malpractice here, because why else would they have been monitoring him so actively as to have been on site before the police would have arrived for a 911 call?
So, real quick, just refresh my memory on the timeline events, if you will. So, he was in the hospital prior to his death, correct? Do we know exactly why he was in the hospital? What the reasoning was for that?
You can only speculate on that. Again, HIPAA laws are going to prevent that. With all intents and purposes,
That
it
hasn't
was
been made public.
probably right. Like it probably has to do more. I think if you looked out there, there's reasons they'll tell you why he was in the hospital. I don't know if you can hold those to truth. In all likelihood, it has to do with I'll call it routine, but probably for him routine, not for us. Back surgeries or back related issues, because the guy's older. He's probably getting something looked at, or another surgery, some sort of thing going on there. But I can't say for sure.
The reason why I ask that question is that would shed some light on why nurses would have been there, right? I mean, if you're having outpatient procedure and you're having a mole removed, I mean, that's very different from going in and having open heart surgery, right? And so one would potentially validate a nurse being there, and obviously the other one would be silly. So I was just curious.
But I got to ask you though. I mean, your mother's a nurse, right?
She takes blood.
Your brother-in-law works in a hospital. Like, how often does somebody go into the hospital for back surgery and then they're sent home with a nurse in a day, a week, a month?
Sounds very odd.
It's very. I mean, unless the likelihood of you having a nurse go to your home is for one reason, and it's hospice. It's the only reason it's happening. They're coming there for hospice or to live in because you are incapable of doing something yourself. Cancer, hospice, like we're talking major ailments. And so to have a nurse there, have any nurses there, just seems odd to me. Like somebody knew something was wrong. The other bit that stood out to me was about the doctor and Brooke's kind of shady comment. Again, HIPAA laws are going to sort of prevent us from finding out who the doctor actually is. However, the internet has done its own little bit of research, and there's some references to a Fitzgerald. I don't exactly know what the name is. The only name I was able to kind of come up with is a Francis Fitzgerald, but that's a vet. I don't know that if that's the same person or not, but the ones I mean, it very could be. But the ones that seem to be tied to this case by like Instagram stories and some X posts basically say that this Fitzgerald had veterinarian malpractice and was found guilty of malpractice and gross misconduct, delayed proper diagnostic x-rays, misled pet owners, destroyed x-ray images, kept inadequate records, and led to animal cruelty and animal suffering, and suspended his license for 2 years, and suggests that maybe he went on to become a general physician. There's also stories about disciplinary actions. I've got another one down here. Where did that go?
Seems like an unlikely transition, though, to go from a vet to a general practitioner of human beings.
Yeah. It's a lot of social chatter. I don't think it's probably as I don't think it's probably as uncommon as you actually think. I think it's probably a lot more common to you.
Really?
I think it's a lot more common than you probably think. There is another short that's out there, or reel, that references him being a shady doctor. Again, another Dr. Fitzgerald. Not sure if it's Francis or if it's somebody else, but they're both from the same general area, tied to allegations. And this one is a general physician, tied to allegations of battery, tampering with a witness, and medical malpractice. Social media rumors. So I can pull that reel up and I can play that. Oh, it's a Bubba the Love Sponge right here. So do you want me to play that despite the fact it's Bubba?
Well, why not?
We're going to pull this up. Can I restart this reel here? I don't know how to do that, but we're going to try it. We're going to do this Instagram. We're going to share the audio here on the Instagram reel. And I'm going to refresh
This
it.
guy's shady. Hogan's going to a shady-ass doctor. I got 2 pages of things that he's done, from battery to tampering with the witness to medical malpractice. I got a 13-page report from the Department of Medicine stating that they found him guilty of overprescribing a guy with a knee injury that died. And Eric Gandy, the police chief of Clearwater, why are you rubber stamping the guy that signed off on Hogan's death certificate? Why are you rubber stamping that like there's nothing that's suspicious here when this is the doctor that he went to? This is the guy that we've put all the eggs in the basket that signed off on Hogan's death. This guy. Most doctors usually hold themselves to a higher decorum and don't have this type of rap sheet. And so that leads.
So that rap sheet actually looked like it might have said Gerald Fitzgerald, which is odd.
Oh, what a name.
Kind of name there.
Gerald Fitzgerald.
So in any case, both these, just Francis and this Gerald, Clearwater area, rap sheets, bad area for I guess Fitzgerald doctors. It just struck me as really weird, man. I'm not suggesting that this was intentional. I mean, maybe it was.
Yeah.
I don't think so. I think it was accidental. And it kind of brought up like a broader thought and conspiracy to me, I guess, to a degree, is like we spend so much effort protecting these medical establishments, whether it's hospitals, whether it's pharmaceutical companies. You run the gamut on what it is. And there's so many protections that allow them to fuck up and allow them to make these types of mistakes and not be held liable for it.
A, I agree. B, I just had a wild thought. And before I give you that wild thought,
I think I know where you're going with it.
Full disclaimer. This thought literally just popped into my head. I've done zero research on it. This is all for entertainment purposes, baby. What a better way to commit the perfect crime. If you wanted to off someone, and again, not saying that somebody had it out for him. I have no idea. What better way to get a shady doctor? Now, granted, I'm not saying that his general physician was the one that performed this surgery or whatever.
Right, but he rubber stamps the death certificate.
Correct.
And they don't even look at it within seconds. Like, they didn't think, and that's what's bothered the fuck out of me, is like there's been no research into this. But again, sorry, finish your thought.
Right.
I'm getting fired.
No, look, I mean, you see it coming from a mile away, right? The perfect crime. What better way, if you want to knock somebody off, is to buy out a surgeon or a doctor, and you have them intentionally fuck something up that you know is eventually going to lead to death. Boom, case closed, over, done, no questions asked. Or in theory, right? Because now we're asking questions. And again, I'm not saying that happened, but what if? What if?
Well, the questions are now, right? But there might not have been. If the goal was to go in there and just say this guy dropped from a heart attack and we didn't tell anybody about anything, and his wife won't say anything and she doesn't want to get any information, we would never know. And if honestly, quite honestly, if not for Brooke's estrangement and people knowing that and trying to get her involved, and I guess what seems to be her dislike for the wife, I don't know that this ever comes out, right? There's a couple things at play here. His politics obviously have come into big question in recent years. That's a nice way to say fuck you to somebody that you don't like. I'm not suggesting that this case, but that is. But then what did I say before too? A 70-year-old man is all of a sudden launching several companies.
Right.
He's got his name and likeness out there, which means for like Real American Beer, the commercials are still on. I fucking hear Hogan's voice all the time. His name and likeness are signed over to that. In fact, WWE, ready for this? Vince McMahon gifted Hogan this imagery of Hulk Hogan's wrestling character to Hogan, the rights to it.
Okay.
Vince doesn't do that for anybody. It's WWE property, and gifted it to him to use for Real American Beer so that he can build it on top of that Real American brand. That would normally be a licensing deal, and WWE would normally control it. It's not the case. A year later, I'll give maybe 2, I guess at this point, but Hogan's dead, but that name and likeness are still tied, to, as far as I know, to that brand. Now, if you go to Cruiseology that starts with a science, well, what was the objective, right? Garner as much money as possible. They prey on those types of people. We talked about this with all the other cults. NXIVM's the same way. All these cults, they prey on these celebrities, to basically champion them. And if they don't, they take them down. Hogan's never come out and spoken in favor of, I just wish I could just talk freely here.
I know.
In favor of science Tom Cruiseology. He's never done that. And there's obviously some resentment from his daughter, and she alleges that they've been in communication privately and quietly behind the scenes. And I wonder if there's some sort of a headbutting or discrepancy that lives within there where, to your point, they just say, we got what we need now. We can milk this pony until it's dry now, because now we have his estate because the wife has it. And now we have his name and likeness that we can perpetuate through our companies. It is early. It is early on right now, but I tend to wonder if we're not going to see some correlation between the ownerships of this company and this ology.
Yeah. You know what? I'd be really interested to find out if we ever get the true identity, like if we know for sure who the doctor was or surgeon or any other medical professional.
Seems to be this Gerald Fitzgerald, yeah.
Right. Yeah. I'd love to know if there's any connection there between him and the ology.
Yeah.
We'll have to dig on that a little bit. Granted, I don't think that matters much because anybody can be bought with money, and so if if what I alluded to earlier winds up being the case, I don't think that's a pertinent detail, but it would be pretty interesting to find out.
If I had to guess, I think that particular doctor probably just got paid off. I think it's probably, I mean, you're probably looking at like a surgeon or like whoever like the hospital doctor was.
Right.
I don't think your general practitioner would have been the one there. And I think that person, whether it's paid off or how to tie there, that I don't know. I know Clearwater is a hotbed for that. They have their own little...
really? I didn't know that.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I found that pretty recently out there.
I always think of them as like West Coast. You know what I mean? Like wacky LA fucking people.
Man, well, so we talked about this a little bit in our Amy Bradley episode
Amy
too.
Bradley
It's
one,
not all West Coast, right?
Yeah.
They have a hotbed down there too. They're in Florida, and Clearwater is one of them. Hotbed for...
Oh, you said the fucking word.
Damn it. Well,
That's
we're going
it.
to
Done.
have to mute that.
Buried. We're canceled.
Mauricio, edit that. Yeah, it says yes. It's Clearwater, Florida is one of the world's major hubs for the ology.
Okay,
the Church of Ology. It's their flag land-based, headquartered in downtown Clearwater, established in 1975. Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
So now, actually, Mr. Phillips, now I'm actually questioning about that general physician as well. When you look at the history of all these other cases and you tie it back to that, and what does this church do all the time is they bury the stories, right? Mm-hmm. If their hotbed is Clearwater, that means they own that town.
100%.
That means they have somebody at every level.
Absolutely. Money will buy you anything you want, my friend.
Money and influence buys you anything you want. That changes it a little bit.
Look at us.
Yeah.
Internet sleuthing live on a pod.
I love it. I love doing it live, and I don't know how people
Yeah.
actually enjoy it out there because we're doing a lot more thinking here, which sometimes you can see the steam coming out of our ears. But for me, it's more fun doing it. I hate just looking it up myself because then when we have a moment like this, then I can't do I gotta like wait and like try to like recreate it
Right.
when we're talking about it, and it's just not as fun that way.
No, it's more organic. I like it.
I wanted to do this one, well, partially because I'm a big Hulk Hogan fan, big pro wrestling fan. I don't think that's a surprise to anybody there, but also because I think this is getting our feet wet into some other topics that we're gonna really start to try to dive into that will, I think, expose a little more light on medical malpractice. The idea that, if you've, and I've done this myself, but you've ever checked off that donor card on the back of your license.
Oh, I don't do it.
I've done it previously. I don't think I have it right now, but there's a lot of conspiracy that sometimes when they see that, because the hospitals can take your body parts and sell them for ludicrous amounts of money. That they do that with, actually, like in pregnancies with the placenta, they cut it. They don't throw that away. They bring it and freeze it immediately, and they use that to go out and create vaccines. They sell them to pharmaceutical companies for boatloads of money. That's partially how they're funded. Why maternity wards are always so nice is because they want you to come in there so they can get that. And you can actually tell them no, but people don't know that and they let it go. And they're giving this away. Like, could make several, like tens of thousands of dollars, if not $100,000 on that. And so there's lingering theories here that sometimes you're being harvested when somebody up top might need something that you have, and there's intentional accidents. I guess I could say.
Or if they just need to make a payment on their boat.
Right. And I mean, there was a story actually oh God, it was a couple of years ago. There was that one documentary about that night nurse or killer nurse or whatever that was like intentionally like dumping stuff and thing.
Well, there was another one recently.
Their IVs.
Yeah.
Yes.
Did you watch The Kings of Tupelo? Did you watch that one?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, it was
that's the
part
body
of that
harvesting
story.
one. Right.
That's part of that story. But yeah.
So this is sort of like the touch base into that. And again, like I wanted to start to tie in some of these other ones that we've been talking about this Tom Cruiseology. And this is 3 different podcasts where that's come up and the reaches that they have. So
almost in
as
succession.
Well, right. Well, this is what I'm saying though. It's like, how do these things go for us when we talk about them, right? It's not intentional. It's this build for us.
Yeah.
What are you counting?
No, I'm just thinking it might have been 4 episodes actually.
It might have been. These recurring themes keep coming up, right? And that's when you start to say, once is a coincidence. I don't generally believe in coincidences, but once is a coincidence. When it's 2, when it's 3, and it's 4, it's hard to start thinking coincidences.
Well, I have a very important question for you. Possibly the most important question of the entire episode. Are you ready for it?
Yes.
As you walk away and fiddle with your camera.
Well, my camera is telling me it's overheating, so it might go off any minute. Who knows?
All right, well, good. This will be my last question. Did Hulk Hogan have the best theme song in the history of the WWE?
Let me tell you something, Timmy. He is a real American. He fights for the rights of every man. I listen to that song very regularly. I'm not afraid, embarrassed to admit it. I've even created my own one for my own business called We Are Your Web Developers. I love everything about it. I'd say top 2 to 3 of all time, probably top 1 for me.
Oh, it's one of the best.
LFG.
I feel like we, at least at one point, had it on our Giants tailgate.
It's 100. It's on every Giants tailgate. 100%. It's always going to be there. It's real American. It's an American theme song.
It is.
It'll be on every one of my playlists for the end of time from now on. And I got some good rock mixes version of it. Well, my camera, because for some reason my little fan thing is either not working or it ran out of batteries in and of itself. I should have gotten one that was plugged in, but this cheesy one is not doing the trick. It's telling me I'm overheating, so that's as good a place as any to wrap this up as we reach the top of the hour here. Would love to know what each and every one of you think. What did we miss? What did we forget? Or by the time this actually airs, which is quite literally in 2 days from when we're recording it, there's a lot that can change. And we really waited till the last minute to try to get this recorded and then posted. I'm sure more is going to happen. More is going to come out. And this is going to be a story that may warrant a second episode. But We've touched on a lot of other threads here, Mr. Phillips, too. So perhaps our audience out there that is right now clicking that like, follow, or share, subscribe button, whatever they click in, I hope they're going to comment and keep us in the loop when it does drop.
We'll talk to you about it.
That's it, baby. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, cocktailsconspiracies.com, conspiracyrealist.com, both take you to the same place. You can find us everywhere you want us to be. Raise your glass to mystery. Another episode of Cocktails and Conspiracies. And let me tell you something, brother. Cheers to the one and only, the realest of real Americans. Rest in peace, Hollywood. Is your website still stuck in 2009 or worse, built by your cousin's friend who kind of knows WordPress?
No! God, please, no!
It's time for an upgrade. At SFX.com, we specialize in custom web design, SEO, and full-service IT solutions tailored for small businesses that are ready to scale. Whether you're just starting out or reinventing your brand, the team at SFX.com brings strategy, style, and serious tech skills to every project. Visit s-fx.com today, where small businesses get big solutions.
Visit S-F